Hello, hello. This is Laura V with Laura V Studios coming on with the Being Divine series, episode number 2. Yesterday, I was so like excited and high, and today I'm exhausted and tired, and I'm like, oh no. But I thought, I really should have like goals for each of these episodes. So this one, it's about learning who my higher self is, how, well, not so much how to connect with her. I figured out how to connect with her. So here's what happened. So this morning, I was meditating and I was in a good place. I was like, okay, I can do this. And I started asking some questions and I use my body as a pendulum. So if it's a yes, my body just kind of moves forward. And if it's a no, it just kind of stays still. And after asking a couple questions, I thought, I don't think this is my higher self. I think this is my subconscious. And I don't really want to talk to my subconscious because I don't trust my subconscious. And so I was like, all right, I only want my higher self to answer these questions. And so then I sat there with my eyes closed and just feeling into her and like what she feels like. And it was the most interesting thing because it was like they were like little squares of energy that were constantly in motion. I'm like, well, this is interesting. I'm like, whoa, I'd never felt her like that before. And it was like all over my skin. I was like, this is kind of cool. And so I was like, huh, so what are you? And I asked her, I'm like, are you energy? And she said, no. It's like, really? Hmm. Are you spiritual? Yes. Yes. And then I'm like, are you consciousness? And she's like, yeah, ding, 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 you're on track. Like, huh. So then I was like, well, wait a minute. So what am I? And I'm like, am I material? No. Am I energy? No. Am I consciousness? Ding, ding, ding. I was like, seriously? So it was this like we just had this conversation and then we did this I did this back and forth yes or no's and then she's like just pull out your journal and start writing. I'm like, okay. And so at first it was kind of like a conversation. Then she was like, just let me talk through you. So let me basically write a letter to you. I was like, all right, we'll give this a try. And and it worked. It was pretty decent. And I was like, huh, this is kind of cool. And basically she just kind of turned things up on its head. Like, uh-oh. So it's like there really isn't a higher self. People think of the non-physical part of us as our higher self because it feels higher. And honestly, my higher self has never felt higher. My higher self has just felt like energy around me that I'm inside. It's like I'm inside a bubble of energy. And this energy like extends out beyond me. And if I tune into it, then I feel more like the energy that's all around me than I do like a physical body. And oh, that was the other thing I asked her. I'm like, do you have a form? Because we think of like columns of light or some kind of angelic shape or something. And people think orbs. She's like, no, no, I don't have a shape. I'm just pure consciousness. And I was like, really? It was like this was so fascinating. Um, yeah. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. So she's like, you are me in form. That's what your purpose is. Because at one point I was like, am I even real? It's like, not in the way you think you are. I'm like, oh, because she's the real. She's real. She's eternal because she's not temporary. She goes on forever. Whereas this human form that I think of as me is temporary. And I think that's what she's trying to get me to start to understand is not to think of me as separate from her. Because then I am eternal. I'm eternal and just in a in human form. But gosh, it's like, but this, it seems like this whole human experience is set up for us to think that we're human and that we're real and that we have a purpose. I mean, we do. It's not that it isn't that. Oh, that was the other cool thing because I'm like, okay, so we have the Akashic records. So I think when this healer last year told me that like my higher self is like J.K. Rowling and she's written the story, that wasn't so off because of the Akashic records. We each have a book that's being written as we live. Our thoughts, our words, our actions are being written and recorded. And so in a way, we're writing our own story. However, you know, so I can't even call her my higher self anymore. I have to call her my conscious self because she's the one that's conscious of everything. I was like, ooh, conscious. So, and I'm just one physical expression of her. So, okay. So what's that all about? Because I thought about it. It's like, wow, it's pretty cool that I started my adult journey as a songwriter. Not a professional one. I didn't get that far. But I did write. I did write for people. I did do some projects for people, just never, like got paid for it, like in any big way. Um, but yeah, but I have written for people and I studied it. And so I remember it was in copyright law class that I learned something really important. She's like, you cannot copyright an idea. The idea has to be in some kind of fixed form. It's not the idea that you copyright, it's the expression of an idea. That's what it was. The expression of an idea in fixed form. Because the problem is there are a limited number of ideas, but there are multitudes of expressions of an idea. Each artist is unique, right? Each composer is unique, each songwriter is unique. So you could have, 10,000 expressions of one idea. And actually, it's probably way more than that. It's probably more like millions of expressions of one idea. And so that's what she was trying to show me. It's like, I am the expression of her. So I'm the fixed form of an aspect of her, I guess is a better way to say it. So, anyway, that's what today's conversation was about in being divine. So then then it's like, well, am I a divine being? And she's like, yes. Well, she is a divine being, and I am her, and therefore I am a divine being. I'm I'm really caught up in the whole separation consciousness thing today. It's the thing that's got to go, and it's probably going to be the hardest thing for me to let go of. But I'll get there because it's destined to be. So I'm working on it hard. So there are days when it's just easy. It's like, well, of course. And then there are days like today when it's not. It's like, but you know what? I know I'm on a path and I've been on this path for a very long time. And I will get there, which is to really be a embodiment of my divinity. That's the goal, is to truly be the embodiment of my divinity, at least for me. Now, she may say that, that's a nice goal for you. Gosh, I'm sorry. It's like, I don't know why that's happening. It's weird. I wonder if I do it this way. Um, like a portion of things is getting cut out. So anyway, um, and maybe she'll reveal to me that there's a different goal. Maybe. I don't know. But that's what this month is about, in being divine. And I'm gonna try to come on every day and just be real for today. So this one's short. If I have more ideas, I'll share them. But for now, this is what's for today. I actually did have an idea too. Like, you know, I've done some very specific things. I've implemented some very specific strategies to be able to connect with my conscious self and um, really perceive her in a very real way and to be able to do what basically people call channeling. Um, and the first two steps are to have some kind of method for connecting and with your higher self in a consistent and reliable way. And so for me, that was doing the embodied awakening invocation. And then the second thing is to heal the stuff that gets in the way. And there are a few ways to do that. The healing invocation is a great place to start. And I actually have those two invocations recorded on this channel. So I'm going to put a little thing up when I when I put this up on YouTube, I can make a card or that will take you to that video. So I will put that um in here so that you can click on it and try out the invocations because that's a great way to get started. For those of you who are already, very much connected with your guides and your higher self and are talking to them already, and you're just wondering, like, how do you become an awakened soul and how do you awaken to your true self in a real way? I know there are plenty of people out there who are already awakened, and yay, congratulations. It's huge. And then there are people like me. I don't think it's not so much that I'm not awake, because I am. It's just I have a much higher bar that I set for myself than maybe most people do. And so it seems like I'm not awake because it's like I'm doubting things and I'm questioning things, but I'm trying to get at truth. I'm trying to get a really clear understanding of how the spirit world is set up and structured, and to make sense of my own experience with spirit, to make sense of, well, what I'm experiencing each day, That's like there are days where I'm just like, this makes total sense. And then there are days where it's like, this doesn't make sense. But I'm realizing it's like, but I'm always working to get like a little clearer on what's true and what's real. For instance, like the one truth I know, like I know this at a soul level, is that God is love. That's a non-negotiable. Also, the second one is that Mrs. Eddy says man is the expression of God's being. I know that that's true too. I know that that's an absolute truth. And I'm trying to understand that truth more and more. And what I'm trying to release the human sense of self to really be able to embody to be my conscious self in physical form. I guess that makes sense. Being divine. And actually, that's one of the things we talked about because I was feeling down about this. I'm like, I'm not real. Then what's the point? And she's like, but Laura, think about it this way. Without me, you feel vulnerable and scared and you worry and you doubt. Yes. I'm like, yes. But when you're consciously with me, one with me, you feel inspired and hopeful and strong and all these good things. It's like, yeah. So it's like, what you're looking for is wholeness in this human experience. You're looking to be whole. And that's the idea, is that by embracing more of my divinity, then I become more whole as a divine being having a human experience. And I like to think of it as, I think we're trying to evolve as human beings. Like we're trying to be a new kind of human, a human that is peaceful and kind. And, we're always looking for less efforting and more ease and more harmony and more peace. Well, there's a reason we wouldn't be we wouldn't be working towards those things, having them more consistently, having them more permanently in our experience if there wasn't a reason for that. I think the reason for that desire is because that's who we truly are. Our conscious selves are truly in that place. And we're part of that, you know? It's like I'm a I'm a part of my conscious self. And I guess she is all of me. Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's I'm a part of her, but she's all of me. And so without her thinking that I'm separate from her, and then therefore, really caught up in the human dream of the questioning and the doubting and the wrestling, then I'm not whole. But if I release that human sense of identity and embrace her as my identity, then I feel more whole and complete. That's what I'm thinking. this this thing that I'm doing, it's an experiment, it's a project, but it isn't something polished and perfect. It's a work in progress. So I'm just sharing where I'm at each day on this little journey and of this little experiment of being divine. And so if you're looking for answers, go find the thousands of others who seem to have the answers. But if you're looking at like, yeah, I'm trying to figure this out too, like, welcome. Let's figure it out together. Because the thing I'm learning is that I'm really clear on the as uh, the aspect of being known as soul. And the way I've always understood soul to be is soul is about identity and soul is about expression. And if there's one thing that was my like driving force up until the trauma stuff happened, is it was all about creative self-expression. And I think I'm getting back to that again. I think that's where I want to be, is being all about creative self-expression, expressing myself creatively, but also helping others to express themselves creatively. I think that's just so important. And I think it's an important aspect of who we are as divine beings. Creative self-expression. See, the problem is we make creative self-expression a business. And it's like, well, I can't really do that because I'm not good enough. And see, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, there are some people who are better at it than others, but that doesn't mean that you don't have the right to express yourself creatively. I think we need to see it as more of this is just what we are. And, sometimes something will come out of this that is truly magnificent and beautiful. And that will be our legacy. That will be our mark that we leave behind. And wouldn't it be wonderful to at least try be on that journey to see if that can happen? I think everybody's got one in them. One thing that can come out of them that is truly magnificent and marvelous and beautiful. and big. And I think that's what being divine is really about. It's about that creative self expression where you're really expressing who you are as a divine being. Doesn't that sound wonderful? That's something I'm going to have to explore. All right. Well, see you tomorrow. Bye.